Deforestation is the act of cutting down a wide area of trees for materials and profit. This has become quite clear that over the years this has become common practice due to tree scarcity.
Deforestation has been on the rise, and due to this, ecosystems for animals are being cut down at an alarming rate. If people are trying to do something about this, trying to slow it down or trying to stop it entirely, because it is ruining habitats for animals.
Deforestation has been around for a long time and is still increasing to this day. By cutting down trees, you are also endangering many animals and their ecosystems. Forests are homes to many animals such as birds, insects, frogs, bears, and many others. With nowhere for them to go, they are forced into areas that are not suitable for them. There has been drastic decline in the amount of wildlife in certain areas that have been greatly affected by deforestation.
Since the practice of deforestation keeps increasing, we might not have that many forests in 100 years. By doing this, it will also completely wipe out all the wildlife that relies on the forests to be their ecosystem.
Cycle is a cycle of processes by which water circulates between the Earth's land, involving precipitation as rain and snow drainage in streams and rivers, which return to the atmosphere by evaporation and transpiration.
The water cycle begins when evaporation from lakes and streams evaporates into the atmosphere. This means the water from the lake or streams turns into water vapor, which is gas, then goes into the atmosphere. Another act of the cycle is transpiration from plants. Transpiration is when plants release a moisture from their leaves through their pores, and it is like evaporation where it releases gas into the atmosphere.
Next, the water condensates and becomes into clouds from the water vapor. Condensation is important because clouds protect the atmosphere from greenhouse gases. The next act of precipitation happens when clouds begin to precipitate rainwater back onto the land.
Deforestation and destruction of rainforests causes a major threat to the water cycle. This is how it works. Trees and other plants found in rainforests transport large amounts of water into the atmosphere. This satisfies the clouds' need for water, thus giving the much needed water to the forest.
You may be asking, why is this important to you? Deforestation in the water cycle affects you and everyday human beings because if a tree is cut down, it affects the water cycle. This means more trees will die, and without trees, they can't produce oxygen, which means there will be more carbon dioxide in the air, which ruins the atmosphere because the water system won't be able to produce clouds, which protect the atmosphere from carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, which are dangerous. This is a huge effect on climate change, and ruining the water cycle can affect our weather dramatically.
A working water cycle has many benefits, including minimal floods. The leaves of trees and soil act like sponges and soak up the rainwater, which stops floods from happening.
After the leaves soak up the water, they then release water vapor through their pores through the act of transpiration. By cutting down the trees, floods will be more likely to happen.
Since there is less trees, less transpiration will happen, which means less precipitation, which means less rain. This will cause very dry weather and less moisture for countries that are already suffering terrible droughts.
This will have a devastating impact on millions of people. Due to already many third world countries having to go to great lengths to get clean water from things like rain, many people and animals will die of dehydration. This will cause some plants to die as well because most of the world's plants need rainwater to survive. Like we said, there are many ecosystems and animals in forests and rainforests. Deforestation can lead to a direct loss of wildlife habitat as well as a general loss of what the organism lives in. The removal of trees and other types of vegetation reduces available food, shelter, and breeding habitat for the animals and organisms in the ecosystem. This means animals won't be able to live or survive because some or all of the organism's food won't be able to feed themselves or their children.
Most of the animals that live in rainforests live in the trees, and if deforestation is happening in their habitat, they will lose their shelter, which is dangerous if the animals have to go outside with other dangerous animals around. Since we are only telling you about the cons of deforestation, you might be thinking, are there any goods that come from deforestation? Well, as all of you might know, trees give you wood and lumber for important uses like shelter, fuel, paper, and many other uses. Most rainforests are located in third world countries, and the government could earn more money by selling lumber products from their country's trees. It will also introduce more jobs to the people in those countries who are very poor. This means deforestation can help boost third world countries' economies.
Although there are a few benefits to deforestation, the cons heavily outnumber the pros massively.
Deforestation is a massive problem that needs to be dealt with immediately. We have a few suggestions that we know will have an immediate impact. If we are correct, then this could end massive deforestation, help the water cycle, and potentially save lives.
Our first solution is simple yet effective way to stop the awful effects of deforestation on the water cycle and in general. We should just stop cutting down large amounts of trees at a time, and we should start by replenishing and planting more trees in forests.
This would allow time for trees to grow for longer, and the quantity of trees would skyrocket.
Yes, we know this would hurt the lumber industry, but it is really worth putting rainforests and the water cycle in jeopardy for just a quick buck.
Overall, this would be great for the environment and the water cycle, and this would preserve the rainforest for many more generations.
The total world forest loss till this date is 7.3 million hectares per year.
The rate of deforestation equals to a loss of 20 football fields every minute.
Up to 28,000 species are expected to become extinct by the next quarter century due to deforestation.
Worldwide, more than 1.6 billion people rely on forest products for all or part of their livelihood.
20% of the world's oxygen is produced by the Amazon rainforest.
Rainforests cover only 6% of the world's surface, yet they are home to more than 50% of the plant and animal species on Earth.